As the cliche goes, April showers bring May flowers. But usually what comes after is the heat and dryness of summer. Hello again, Essay here. And before the hot weather of the holiday shows up, you should indulge in my new short story, The White Cat, a free exclusive on Substack. The links are down below in description. Join Margot Thompson, a beautiful stage actress and recent widow who finds salvation in the form of a white cat during a night of terror. While checking out my oddball thriller, remember that my Glitch series is still available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The links are down below in the description. While you'll find my peculiar story about a white pussy entertaining, that doesn't mean I'm out of ideas. I still have more stories coming down the pike, so as long as I don't run into any mishaps, you'll see those stories as well. Now let's get back to the video.
Uphold the law.
You just killed 3 police officers, Harry.
And the only reason I'm not gonna kill you is because I'm gonna prosecute you with your own system. It'll be my word against yours. And who's gonna believe you? You're a killer, Harry. A maniac. Man's got to know his limitations.
Hello again, Essay here. When it comes to the pursuit of power, whether it be in the private sector, CEOs, stuff like that, or political power, when is enough enough? I mean, someone a lot smarter than me once said that, what does it gain to control the world but lose your soul? Forgot who said that. But, yeah, it's an apt phrase. Well, there's been many examples of people who chose power over their soul. Indeed, like Augustus Caesar, for example. And of course, old Alexander the Great and Napoleon. But then there were other people who weren't necessarily conquerors. There were or blatant tyrants. There were people who just endeavored for a long time to gain political power, and then they wanted to hang on to it for as long as possible. And indeed, in America, we've had a few examples of that, such as Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, the guy started out as a school teacher and a college professor. I think he taught at Princeton. But then he decided to get into politics, and he eventually became president of the United States, right before the First World War. But what people didn't know was the man was sick. Indeed, according to history books, the guy, he had a lot of issues. But his main issue was hypertension. Indeed, his hypertension was so bad, the guy had multiple strokes over his life. And indeed, before he became president, he had one stroke that was so bad that it actually blinded him one eye. And please, no Popeye jokes, okay? Just saying. But then, after he became president, he had a humdinger of a stroke. Totally laid the guy out. And then, of course, right now, you're saying, so why didn't they get the 25th Amendment? Are you kidding me? This was back during the First World War. 25th Amendment didn't exist for another 40 plus years. Okay? Are we clear? And yet, the general public never knew about it. And you say, why not? Because they kept it a secret. And you say, who? Everybody. Apparently, it came out only long after that not only was the cabinet was aware of Wilson's shortcomings, to say it put nicely, and his wife, but also certain news reporters. They knew, and they didn't report on it. Makes you wonder why. But then after Wilson died, then it all came out. So there you go. That in the last, I think, almost 2 years of his life, he wasn't running the country. Basically, it was a cabal made up of his wife and certain cabinet secretaries. They were running the country. And then, of course, it happened again under Roosevelt. And, of course, some of you say, yeah, we know he had polio. Yeah, but what you probably don't know is, in that last year of his life, he was suffering from dementia. Because according to the history books, when he was at the Yalta meeting in 1944, both Stalin and Churchill noticed that Roosevelt wasn't all there. And he's sitting there negotiating the wind down of the Second World War, so he wasn't really negotiating much of anything. And of course, as we know, he died a couple of months after. And people in the Soviet Union, they also had a similar problem with Leonid Brezhnev. Indeed, in the last few years of his life, Leonid Brezhnev, like Wilson, he suffered a series of strokes. But since we're dealing with the Soviet Union, they kept that they kept that totally under wraps. I mean, nobody knew outside the Communist Party until after Brezhnev was dead in the dirt, that the guy wasn't really running the country. And then, of course, it happened again in Algeria. And you say, who cares? Wait for it. You ready? Yeah, because the president, and believe me, I don't speak Arabic, so bear with me. Yeah, the guy's name, I think it was Abel Aziz Boafika. Like I said, don't sue me if I don't speak Arabic, okay? But he was the longtime president of Algeria. In fact, he ran the country for like almost a solid 20 years. And wait for it. Unlike in the United States, they didn't have term limits. So he basically had ran the whole country, I think, for 4 presidential terms. Except during his last term as president, he suffered a massive stroke. And yet, they tried to keep it a secret for a while. Yeah, in fact, according to the history books, he first became president in 1999. and he served 4 terms, from 2004, again 2009, but then before the 2014 election, he had this massive stroke, and yet they kept it a secret until and he got another term as president. And wait for it, you ready? Even though he never recovered from that stroke, he was planning to run for another term as president. Yeah. But then it finally came out publicly that, he wasn't really running the country. I mean, technically he was there, but his, underlings, they were basically running Algeria. And when it came public, the people in Algeria said, hell no, we won't go. And they basically forced the guy to step down. And I think that was in 2019. And then he died not long after that. So, but of course, this video isn't just about all these old potentates who basically tried to hang on for longer than they needed to be. This video is about the guy who's currently in the White House. Now, I'm going to show you a snippet of a video by Paul Joseph Watson. And let's just say he puts his own spin on about what recently happened just a couple of days ago. And of course, you say, what happened a couple of days ago? Well, it was that a little get-together that he had with old Trump, that little so-called debate. And let's just say I'll let Paul do the talking for me. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Oh, it was bad. It was even worse than they expected.
On the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
But just as funny as Biden's walking corpse of a debate performance was their reaction to it.
This is an epic disaster. This thing is over. He looks like he's barely surviving. I don't mean the debate, I mean life. Show me a Democratic politician and I will bet them any amount of money that Joe Biden's going to lose this election. This thing's a bloodbath. He's going to get annihilated.
This is so much worse than my worst nightmares of what it could be like in every way.
Van Jones was on the verge of tears.
And it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain of what we saw tonight.
Joy Reid also seemed a bit choked up.
I too was on the phone throughout much of the debate with Obama world people, with Democrats, with people who are political operatives, with campaign operatives. My phone really never stopped buzzing throughout. And the universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic.
Before the debate, Zoomer Biden boy was very confident.
You know, all of these Trump supporters are going to be incredibly disappointed tomorrow night when Donald Trump and Joe Biden debate, because they view Donald Trump as a god, and they think that Joe Biden is sleepy. But that's not reality. What is reality is that Donald Trump has not been doing any debate prep. He's not preparing at all, whereas Joe Biden has been doing debate prep for the past 7 days. And he's been having mock debates every single day and reviewing policy and all that stuff. So what's actually going to happen is that Joe Biden's going to get up on that debate stage and slap Donald Trump around for 90 minutes. And then all of these Trump supporters are going to be incredibly sad over his performance. They'll never admit this, but they know it's true.
That didn't age well, did it? Biden won the debate easily.
Sure, Jan.
Vote for making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Mehdi Hassan took another big fat L. I think Republicans will regret setting the bar so low for Biden and helping spread the distorted image of him as a guy who is totally out of it, suffering from dementia, no grip on reality, no ability to speak. A very low bar for him to clear tonight. Update, not sure he cleared it. Oh, it's delicious.
The impact on the choice.
And that's what makes these reactions even more hilarious. The fact that all these same people have been asserting all year long that Biden being a borderline dementia patient is a conspiracy invented by Trump supporters, and that Trump's the one actually suffering from cognitive issues. Oh, guess that narrative got retired last night, didn't it?
To get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare for the ability to, for the...
You know, one of the things was, would either candidate look like the caricature that the other campaign has been trying to paint of him? And at the end of the day, Joe Biden looks like the caricature that conservative media has been painting.
Oh yeah, it's just a caricature. Trust us, he's not borderline senile. Don't believe your lying eyes.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
You know, you have to ask, how did we get here?
How are they even shocked when Biden's been like this for years now? The level of self-delusion is incredible. But Rachel Maddow engaged in perhaps the biggest cope ever by claiming Biden got stronger as the debate went on, and he was strongest at the end.
As the president became sort of stronger, including literally his voice, the strength of his voice over the course of the night, probably peaking towards the very, very end of the debate.
Really, Rachel? This was how Biden finished at the end.
He wants to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare for the ability to, for the...
According to her, that was his strongest moment. No, I take that back. The biggest cope came from Jill Biden, Joe's carer.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question.
Such a great job. You answered every question. When you weren't looking dazed and confused with your gob hanging open, garbled noises came out of your mouth on a semi-regular basis.
And it stopped.
Such a great job.
Such a great job.
Okay, bedtime now. Follow me, Joe. No, it's this way. Joe, yeah, mind the step. Time to leave now, Joe. No, I take it back again. Gavin Newsom wins Cope of the Year award.
Well, not on the substance, he won the debate.
Sure, Jan.
I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative.
Aside from his god-awful delivery itself, Biden got the facts so wrong he was fact-checked by his own loyalist network.
Some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher.
When even CNN abandons you, you know you're in trouble.
Can you say that you are not concerned at all, having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our country. That is about a destruction.
Look at Anderson Cooper. He's just like, what the fuck? When Anderson Cooper turns on you, you're getting dumped, bitch.
A full week of debate prep compared to Trump just winging it on the night, and it still all ends in disaster.
He goes through 6 days of preparation at Camp David.
More than that.
And they know the rules.
It was more than a week.
Okay, so more than a week. They know the rules. He practices with the mics. He knows every one of these questions is coming. And yet he couldn't fill the time. Now, I just want to, let's see what the White House is saying. Sources close to the White House are saying he had a cold, wasn't feeling well. I mean, as you would expect, that came out early on in the debate. But what accounts for someone with so much experience doing so much preparation and this being the outcome?
Honestly, I think the question answers itself. He wasn't capable of doing any better than he did.
Time to fire whoever mixed Biden's meds, because he royally messed up.
Scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now.
Democrats made the whole narrative about saving democracy. Now they're going to have to completely ignore the will of the primary voters and pick a new nominee, because let's face it, Biden's finished. According to CNN's chief national correspondent John King, the die is basically cast.
Right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party. It started minutes into the debate, and it continues right now. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. And they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible.
But now we hear today they're still ludicrously clinging onto him.
There are no plans, I'm told, for the president to drop out of the race. And even further, I'm told that the president is still committed to a second debate in September.
But for me, the bigger question is this. Given that Biden has totally lost it, and now even his biggest cheerleaders are having to admit that, who the hell is running the country?
All right, you saw that. Now, of course, if you were paying attention to that damn get-together, well, Paul wasn't saying anything that you probably already didn't notice. But as you saw with Watson said, it wasn't so much that Joe Biden, like all those other potentates, wasn't all there. It was the fact that it seemed like everybody knew it. And you probably could say Joe Biden not being all there is probably the worst kept secret in the Beltway, D.C. Because it seemed like everybody knew it. People inside the White House knew it. People in Congress knew it. All the damn people in the White House press corps knew it. Damn people at CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they all knew. All of them. And then, as you saw in Watson's video, some people are still trying to gaslight the general public, saying, oh, Biden, he's just fine, he's wonderful, this guy is practically walking on air. Really, dude? Really? Now, of course, I noticed years ago that Biden wasn't all there. Indeed, I noticed back in 2020. That's the reason why I didn't vote for the guy. Because, believe me, I remember Reagan. And I remember during his second term, he was slipping slipping the gear more than once. If I remember a video where he and Nancy was at his ranch, and the news media just happened to be there and asked him some question about whatever. And he, just like Joe Biden, started to speak, and then he kind of started glitching. And then when he was trying to get his thought out of the two brain cells he still had left in his head that was still working, Nancy, who was standing right next to him, she quietly bowed her head and said, as she, trying to be surreptitious, like Bergman used to do with Knucklehead Smith. And you say, wait, who? Well, you're familiar with Candace Bergman? Yeah, well, her father, he used to be a ventriloquist. And one of the dummies that he had was Knucklehead Smith. Okay, we clear now? Yeah, but she was trying to be surreptitious like a damn ventriloquist, and she said, we're doing all we can. And just like Knucklehead Smith, Reagan said, we're doing all we can. And I saw that. And I said, son of a bitch. Man can't get thought out of his head. Next he has to sit there like damn old Bergman with her hand halfway up his ass, basically making him do the dance. Like damn Kermit the Frog and Frank Oz. But except this time around, nobody was feeding Biden his lines when he was up there with old Trump. And of course, if you were paying attention, you saw old Biden mumbling and stumbling. Well, I was noticing that 4 years ago, that he wasn't all there. And I said, nah, player. I already went through this mess with Reagan. I ain't going through Biden. That's why I didn't vote for the guy. And now, here we are, 4 years later, and the guy, Biden, is much, much worse. And as you saw in that montage that Paul showed you, even Cenk Uygur over there at the Young Turks, even he said that he's not sure if Biden's going to make it till 2025. And you know what? I mean, we like about 100 miles past dementia. We're wondering if his heart's is gonna still be beating by the time November comes around, or even after. And of course, some of you are saying, if he dies, does that mean we're going to get Cackling Harris as president? If it happens before the election, the answer is yeah. And then at this point, you say, oh, my stars and garters. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're not the only one. Because even though Biden is pushing all this leftist radical nonsense on the country with these stupid-ass policies, Cackling Harris, I mean, does she have any brain cells in her head? I mean, I'm not even joking. I mean, the woman... if you've seen montages of her conducting supposedly speeches, it's wondering, is she just ad-libbing? Just, what's the term they like nowadays for word salad? And then the cackling. I mean, that's the thing that's really galling. She'll sit there and say something just totally asinine and just sit there like the damn Wicked Richard West going, almost like someone sound like Hillary Clinton. Someone else I can't stand. Yeah, imagine that sitting behind Resolute desks. Yeah, talking about throwing up in your throat. So what do we do about it? Well, unless someone gives Biden a brain transplant, I think you should send Biden out to the old folks' home. I mean, it's the only decent thing to do. Because we can't have this man even pretending to run the country. Because as you saw at the end of Watson's video, he said it. He said, if Biden's always been this way, who's running the country? I mean, seriously, who is in charge of this country? I mean, are we on autopilot? Like something out of Airport 75? And of course, some of you say Airport 75. Yeah, it's an old disaster film. Don't sweat the details. And I'm thinking if that's the case, we as a nation are in a whole mess of trouble. Because we got 2 wars going on right now. We have a failing economy. We have all these knuckle-headed doofuses coming across the open border. And we got no president. I mean, as someone a lot smarter than me once said, what a way to run a railroad. I mean, no joke. And now they're saying they want to swap him out for Gavin Newsom. Gruesome Newsom, Governor Hair Gel. Yeah, talk about out of the frying pan into the soup. Because he's no better. Now, Newsom, his brain works except he's got policies that only the Joker would love. And of course, anyone knows anything about the Joker knows that the Joker is an agent of chaos. Or anyone who remembers the Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan film, what did Alfred Pennyworth say about the Joker? He's someone you can't reason with, can't negotiate with. He just wants to see the world burn. And in the case of Gruesome Newsom, yeah, you put him in charge in the White House, he is going. He let's just say it. In Biden's case, it's just purely incidental. If you put Newsom in there, it will be deliberate. I mean, look at what he's doing in California. He's just burning it all down because he don't give a shit. I mean, remember, the guy is rich. He can just get in one of his private jets and go to Aruba if things really go sideways in this state. Just imagine putting him in charge of all 50 states. So yeah, we got very few options on who's going to be president. Now, of course, some of you are probably saying RFK Jr. Well, yeah, you can vote for him, unless he ends up like his dad and gets assassinated. And as for the Libertarian candidate, oh bejesus, don't even bring him up. I mean, anyone who's been paying attention to the Libertarian Party knows that they like liberty. In fact, they like so much that they liberate themselves right out of putting anyone up that can actually win an election. And indeed, they stuck some damn crazy woke leftists as their nominated for their presidential candidate. No joke, I'm not playing. Look it up. I mean, this guy, he checks all the boxes. The guy is gay. He's a lefty. He believes in no borders. He believes that taxes is theft. And he believes that the United States is an evil place. And wait for it, he walks around with them damn rainbow flags and rainbow shirts. So there you go. Yep. We're in a real serious chaotic mess, aren't we? So all we can hope is that old Biden doesn't drop dead before the election. I mean, that's all we can hope for. And then hopefully when the election happens, we don't give him a second bite at the apple. Well, that's all you gotta say about old Sleepy Joe and how he's just not up for the job as president. That's my opinion.